Hello and welcome to Music Theory Logic. My name is Andrew, and today we're going to talk about some arpeggio magic. Let's go ahead into our Logic Pro session. Here we are in a pretty basic Logic Pro session that I've built, and we're going to showcase some arpeggio magic. Nice. So first, let's talk about an arpeggio. An arpeggio is a broken chord. That means you're basically playing a chord progression, only you are playing one note at a time, or you're playing a chord one note at a time, or perhaps a couple notes at a time, but you're breaking it up so it's not just all together. I'm in the key of A minor here, so pretty simple. We have a 1 chord. This is an A minor. We have a 6 major 7 chord. That is a F major 7. We have a 4 minor 4 chord, D minor, and then finally we have an E major chord, which is a major dominant chord in A, making what we're writing in harmonic minor. Cool. So on a side note, really quickly, arpeggios are some of the most common musical techniques that exist, and they have been for a very long time. You, for instance, have probably heard Für Elise. And in Für Elise by Beethoven, that left-hand part two hands, the middle section, is literally just an arpeggio of 2 different chords, an A minor and an E major chord. We're using 2 of those chords in our piece of music at the beginning and at the very end. Let's listen to the chord progression on its own. Cool. So let's take that and make an arpeggio out of it. So I have already done an arpeggio by hand here. This looks like a lot of crazy stuff, but every note that you see is the same notes from the chords that were happening in these measures. So A minor, F major 7, D minor, E major. No new notes, but what I'm doing is I'm basically applying a pattern to the notes one at a time. Handwriting arpeggios is a great way of being in complete control of the sound you have, and if it's really close and you can picture or imagine how you want it to change to be exactly what you want, it's a lot easier to do it from this kind of arpeggio. However, I'm going to also show you some more automatic ways of making arpeggios. Let's listen to this. Nice. If we add some drums, just to hear all that together. Maybe add a bass instrument in. Why is my serum not playing? Nice, there we go. Got the cool bass up there. Nice, and this is probably obvious to you, but now that we've created this MIDI, we could use that on any of the other instruments that we can control with MIDI. For instance, I could showcase this new modular V3, modular V by Arturia. I splurged on some Black Friday stuff, and I got a bunch of Arturia stuff. Loving it. I love the graphics on their plugins, and they sound great. Let's hear arpeggio. Nice, a cool little mono. It's got a little bit of a whistle harmonic in there. Cool. So now let's talk about making arpeggios 2 different ways that are automatic. So one is in your DAW, you can use what's called a MIDI effect, which whatever DAW you're in will be basically before the VST. I know you can do this in FL and Ableton. So this is basically an automatic way. These are all a bunch of different presets. Could go to classic cycle 5, defaults at 16th notes. I'm going to turn it to 8th. Now it's going to automatically basically follow these parameters. Nice. So that's an awesome way of just automatically making arpeggios. You have to write a chord progression, but then you can have those MIDI effects basically apply automated patterns to the MIDI based on what you've written and the pattern that you're selecting. And finally, we can do this in virtual instruments that have arpeggiators or sequencers built into them. One of the Arturia synths I got that I'm super excited about is called Pigments. And Pigments is really crazy. Let's go, before we showcase the sequence ones, we could take any preset like keys, organic flutes, and then it actually has a sequencer built into here. So I can turn on an arpeggiator. So that's super cool. I wish Serum had that. In many ways, Pigments seems very similar to me as Serum, which is why I'm really excited to have this and work it, figure out the workflow. So that's pretty crazy because, again, any instrument that you either build or preset that you have that's not arpeggiated, you can apply Pigments arpeggiators to that. You could also do that via our MIDI effects. It seems like there's lots of cool potentials on the sequencer. Let's showcase some of their sequence patterns. So these are already presets with built-in movement. Let's hear that. Trippy. d.r.u. That's a cool one. Say when. Very 80s. Whoa, glitchy. So much potential. And again, arpeggios to me are just kind of magical. So hopefully this helped better explain what an arpeggio is to you if you didn't know, which again, it's a broken chord. It's a fancy word for saying a broken chord, or a chord one or two notes at a time. And hopefully this opened your eyes to how cool A, they sound, and B, maybe you have some ideas on how you can work arpeggios into your workflow, or perhaps you were already using arpeggios and didn't know the name for that. Now you know that when you see arp in a synth, that's short for arpeggio, which again, perhaps you were already doing. So if you found this video helpful, you would help me out a ton if you would subscribe to the channel. And if you do, I will see you guys very soon for some new content. Till next time, happy producing.